Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com. Share this episode with your family, friends, and other great patriots. And I am truly glad that you could join me today as we shine the light on another forgotten patriot, a man whose name most Americans have never heard of, but whose signature is etched into the Declaration of Independence. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Laura Schaefer. She is the one who suggested today's episode. And Laura, you nailed it. This is exactly the kind of person I want to feature in the series, someone who played a key role in our nation's founding, but yet they've been left out of the history books. And it really does a disservice to our founders, our history, our culture. Today, we're going to talk about William Paca, a man whose immigrant heritage, who became a lawyer, a revolutionary leader, a brigadier general, the governor of Maryland, and ultimately a federal judge that was appointed by George Washington. He lived an extraordinary life, and he lived at a time when the colonies were anything but united. He fought political battles in Congress, defended his state from British raids, and he helped rebuild it after the war. His life is a reminder, a testament to the story of America's founding. And it really shows that our history isn't written by a handful of famous names. It's written by the many, the forgotten, who risked everything for liberty and whose legacies deserve to be remembered. So in order to understand who William Paca was, we have to go back to where it all began. We have to go to colonial Maryland, October 31st, 1740, when he was born. He was born into a wealthy family. His grandfather came to the New World all the way back in 1651. And there's some historical debate over what is William Paca's exact lineage. Some sources suggest that he's Italian, others suggest that he was part English. However, his Italian heritage is undeniable. This is important because it reminds us that from the very beginning, America was not a closed society to any one particular religion, one ethnicity, one culture, one origin. The founders weren't all cut from the same cloth, despite what you've been told. The colonies were a mix of English, Scots-Irish, Dutch, German, French Huguenots, Africans, and yes, even Italians amongst us. We were a melting pot right from the beginning. And despite the narratives that constantly seek to denigrate our founding, it shows why America is such an exceptional nation. It shows that we as a country were built by so many people that came from different places, different cultures, different customs, different traditions. And growing up, Paca benefited from a good and strong education. He traveled all the way to Philadelphia to attend the College of Philadelphia. You may know the College of Philadelphia as the University of Pennsylvania. And it was no small feat in an age when higher education was reserved for a small privileged class. He was extraordinarily successful at UPenn. And he wasn't done yet, because following the same path that many ambitious colonial lawyers, Paca sailed across the Atlantic to London to study at Middle Temple. This was one of England's most prestigious Inns of the Court at the time. And imagine what that meant in the 1760s. This wasn't an easy journey. It was a weeks-long voyage in cramped quarters, and you had to worry about things like disease. He's going to land in the heart of the British Empire. And at Middle Temple, Paca is going to not only study English law, but he's also going to focus on political philosophy. And political philosophy is critical. So you need to know common law, but the rights of Englishmen and the writings of John Locke are going to inspire William Paca. He is going to gravitate towards that argument that government exists to protect life, liberty, and property, not control it, not take it over. And these ideas are going to take root in Paca's mind. It's going to guide him through the tumultuous years, the stormy decades that are going to follow. When he returns to Maryland, Paca is going to quickly establish himself as a successful lawyer. His legal acumen brought him clients and respect, but it was actually his marriage in 1763 to Mary Chew, daughter of Samuel Chew, a wealthy landowner, that's going to cement his place among Maryland's elite circles. Now, in colonial society, alliances like this mattered. They opened political doors, connections, valuable connections, and it determined who had influence in society and who didn't. By the mid-1760s, political tensions are going to begin to rise between Britain and the colonies. They were at a boiling point. You had the Stamp Act of 1765, a direct tax on printed materials, and this was seen by many colonists as a direct abuse of power on the people. So Paca joined in on the opposition. He argued that taxation without representation violated the rights guaranteed to all subjects in the colonies. And it was during this time that Paca is going to form a powerful alliance with another Maryland patriot, Samuel Chase. And perhaps there'll be a future episode on Samuel Chase, but the two became inseparable political partners. They wrote pamphlets, they organized protests, they mobilized public opinion. And you have to understand that at the time, there was a lot of division in the colonies, particularly in Maryland, where some people favored the radical resistance, like Samuel Adams over in Massachusetts. Others wanted reconciliation with Britain. It's important to remember, we talk so much about the division within our society today, how America is extremely divided. Understand that we were divided from the beginning, and they were much more divided in the lead up to the American Revolution. There were plenty of people that wanted to work things out with the British diplomatically. They didn't want to go to war. Revolution was last resort. So we saw the division and the tensions all the way back then at our founding. Paca is going to work tirelessly to pull his fellow citizens together, to pull them toward this idea of liberty. And his effectiveness did not go unnoticed. When the colonies decided to convene the first Continental Congress in 1774, Paca was selected as one of Maryland's delegates, and it's a role that he is ultimately going to reprise for the Second Continental Congress in 1775, which is going to be much more important. So we need to take a quick break. But when we get back, we're going to explore Paca's role in the founding of this nation and how he helped shape it. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain and stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Well, discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers. These are the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. They provide maximum benefits. And Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. It doesn't clump, it absorbs fast thanks to its peptide formula. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a brand you could trust. They offer an 800 number for any questions you may have, and then you'll speak to a real person who's there to help. Visit getnativepath.com/PAS and start your transformation today. That's getnativepath.com/PAS. Welcome back to the America's Founding Series, part of the P.A.S. Report podcast. We are exploring the life of an extraordinary patriot who many have forgotten, most have never even heard of, and I'm talking about William Paca. Now, if you're enjoying the America's Founding Series, be sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, and share this episode with other great patriots. It helps the podcast tremendously. And I want to get back to Paca because as tensions with Britain are escalating, Maryland's going to choose Paca to represent them at the First and Second Continental Congress. And these were no ordinary political gatherings. It wasn't just a place where people are going to air their grievances and then go home. These, in essence, were going to become and form a shadow government, deciding whether the colonies are going to break away from the most powerful empire in the world at the time. And the debates were fierce. Some delegates are going to push for reconciliation. Others are going to argue that war is inevitable, and so we have to start the fight. Maryland itself was extremely divided. Its economy was tied to trade with Britain. And so people feared that the chaos of independence is going to destroy it economically, destroy the livelihoods. So Paca's job wasn't easy, and he had a delicate task to convince not just Congress, but the people in Maryland that the risks of independence are going to be worth taking. And he succeeded. On July 6, 1776, Maryland formally endorsed the idea of independence, and just 2 days after the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, William Paca is going to put his name to that document. And he understood that in the eyes of the British Crown, he was committing treason, a penalty that would surely result in his death if he's captured. Think about that. Signing the Declaration, as I always say, it wasn't just a symbolic move. When we look at pledging our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor for the cause of liberty, you're putting your life on the line. And Paca, he didn't need it. He was successful. He was well respected. He had money. He was from an elite family. So when Paca took pen in hand to sign the document, he knew what was at stake. And he didn't just sign the Declaration and then just step aside into the dustbin of history. Signing the Declaration of Independence was just the beginning. The war was now in full swing. Paca didn't limit himself to legislative work of the Continental Congress. He served as a brigadier general in the Maryland militia, defending the Chesapeake region from the British raids that were occurring. And while his command wasn't over grand armies or famous battles like Saratoga or Yorktown, it was no less important. You have to understand the Chesapeake Bay was a constant target for British raids. In 1777, British ships were threatening Annapolis, and Paca was instrumental in organizing the defense. Picture the scene. Cannons hastily being rolled into position, militiamen rushing to the waterfront, townspeople watching anxiously as British warships are going to hover offshore. Luckily, the defense held and the attack was averted. Now, Paca's role was about protecting supply lines and defending communities. He had an important task to try and keep morale high at a time where we were facing a lot of defeats on the battlefield. And in a war where the enemy could strike anywhere along the coast, leaders like Paca were essential. Ultimately, the Battle of Yorktown is going to come. Cornwallis is going to have to surrender. And with the war won, Maryland is going to turn to Paca for leadership in this time of peace. With the successful conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the focus then shifted to rebuilding and governing a new nation and its individual states. This was no easy task. In 1782, William Paca was elected as the governor of Maryland, a testament to his trust and respect that he earned throughout the years of service to the nation. As governor, Paca is going to face a daunting task. He has to rebuild Maryland after the war, and he's going to champion policies aimed at strengthening the state's commerce, encouraging economic growth, and protecting individual rights. This is not going to be easy, given that the economy relied on trade with Britain. He understood that political independence from Britain was essential, but it was only one part of the equation. Establishing a prosperous and just society was equally as crucial. And one notable achievement during his governorship was his focus on fostering trade and navigation within the state, recognizing the importance of a strong economy for long-term stability. And you have to realize that from 1782 up until 1789, these are known as the critical years. Within the first 10 years of any new nation, that's when it's most likely to collapse. It could erupt in civil war. The Articles of Confederation did collapse. It was a disaster. And so they had to get it right. Paca had a commitment to public service, and it continued even after his term as governor concluded. So we finally have the Constitutional Convention. We're able to look at the Connecticut Compromise. We put forth the United States Constitution. It's finally approved. And George Washington is going to become the first president of the United States in 1789. President Washington is going to recognize Paca and his legal expertise, as well as the dedication and sacrifice to the nation. And he decides that he's going to appoint William Paca as a federal judge. This appointment underscores the high regard in which he was held by the leaders of this newly formed United States. And his contributions as a judge further shaped Maryland's legal framework, contributing to the development of the American judicial system. He brought to the bench the same principles of justice and fairness that had guided his political career. And yet, despite this remarkable record of success and service, despite being a signer of the Declaration of Independence, a wartime brigadier general, a governor, and a federal judge. William Paca remains a relatively obscure figure in American history. His name doesn't resonate in the popular consciousness like some of his more famous contemporaries. If you go to Maryland, you can visit Paca Gardens. But this relative obscurity is a reminder that history often highlights only a select few, while so many others who made significant contributions to the founding of this country drift into the background. Now, as we conclude our exploration of William Paca's life, we see a man who was a lawyer, a passionate patriot, a courageous signer of the Declaration of Independence, a dedicated soldier, a thoughtful statesman. His story is going to embody the American experience. It's going to embody the American spirit. Our founding and William Paca's life is a powerful reminder that the fight for liberty and the building of a nation were endeavors undertaken by extraordinary individuals from diverse backgrounds, including those with immigrant roots. It's time that William Paca receives his due. Now, if you found this episode informative, make sure to leave a good rating on the podcast platforms that allow it. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next week with another great episode of the P.A.S. Report podcast.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.